Hi, everybody. Welcome back to In Moments of Inyeon. As promised, today we are going to be joined by our first guest. Before I reveal who she is, let me just share that today we are going to dive into the beautiful topic of emotions, where they sit in our physical body and dismantle the belief that are only stored within our physical heart. The notion that emotions are only located in the heart is a misconception, as they are a complex interplay of brain activities, physiological responses, and cognitive interpretations that are not only found within the physical heart. Also, we are going to talk about how our journey with emotions or through emotions could have a bond with moments of inyeon, moments of destiny, moments of purpose. So let's start. All right, you guys, welcome back. Our first ever guest is my dear friend, Gisela. Gisela, welcome to In Moments of Inyeon. Thank you for being here. How are you today?
Hi, thanks for having me today. Okay. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for asking. So Gisela is a sports therapist, a physiotherapy student, a yoga teacher, a personal trainer, and a Reiki master. When I decided that I wanted to dedicate an episode to emotions and the effect they could have on our physical, mental, and emotional bodies, I just thought, who better than someone who has such a great understanding and knowledge over so many different things to talk about all this. Before we dive into this journey of Inyeon, destiny, and emotions, I would like just to remind you guys that in the first episode, I shared that the Buddhist philosophy of metta talks about 5 rivers within our physical body. If you haven't watched our first episode yet, you can find it fully on YouTube and Spotify. It explains what Inyeon means, what moments of Inyeon are, the Buddhist philosophy of metta, mindfulness, a little practice of meditations, and so much more. One of the 5 rivers, precisely the second one, is the river of sensation. The Buddhist philosophy of metta says that each sensation is like a drop of water in the river itself. To truly understand our own self, we need to sit down on the bank of the river, so within ourselves, and recognize as they arise. Sensations could become emotions that we start storing within our physical body and mind. For instance, we're storing emotions into our internal organs, into the nervous system, glands, muscles, tendons, ligaments, tissues, and that could have an effect on our physical and mental health. It has been studied that while the heart is involved with emotional experiences, it is more understood now as a part of a wider network that includes the nervous system and the brain. Before we dive into all this, I would like to ask my first question to Gisela. And I just would like to say that the reason why I'm asking this question to our guests is because Inyeon refers to how relationships form. It is about relationships between people's lives. And it is often said that the people who we meet and become close with, or we have a close bond with, are very likely to be people that we have met many times before. And maybe not just in this lifetime, if you believe in that, but maybe in many lives before and after the present one. So our guests are going to be people who I cross paths with, who are looped into my Inyeon threads, and who I share special moments with. But if you guys are looped into my threads, I am also looped into yours, so we share special moments of purpose together. So my question is, would you like to share a moment of Inyeon that you had with me when we met.
So we met, I don't even know, that was it 10 years ago?
More than 10 years ago, yeah.
I just remember I was looking for a yoga class close by. I became a member at the gym and I just needed a yoga class because of my anxiety and everything I went through. So I just met you and it was just really nice. Like we had so much fun in yoga and it was a class I was looking for, I needed. And then we started training together. And I think you just brought me out of my shell a little bit when it comes to training and yoga. Because of you, I became a yoga teacher.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Yeah, I would not have, because you said you should do it. And obviously you've been also my yoga teacher. So everyone who let's say, explain about you, I always say like, she's my yoga teacher.
Oh.
If I go to a class, is a yoga teacher, but if you really mean someone is your yoga teacher, you know the meaning behind it is something more than just teaching you movements and going through the flow. I did yoga for a long time. I taught myself when I was 16. So when I met you, you made me do things I didn't know, like without knowing. And I remember this particular class, I did the Bird of Paradise. And I was just so happy. Like I didn't even know it. I had to go home, kind of like Google it. The way you taught and stuff, it connected me with you. And then obviously we became friends. And it's just in that moment, I needed that. I needed you. We then trained beforehand, strength training. And that is the moment I remember always. And it doesn't feel like that long ago.
So would you say that the moment of us meeting was meant to happen? It was part of our destiny? It was fate?
I think so, because if I wouldn't have met you, I don't think I would be where I am now, because I wouldn't have maybe done the yoga, classes or the yoga course where you were teaching as well. I don't think I would have. The bond we built is on trust, and definitely I don't think I would be where I am now. The things you and me talk about is what I don't talk to other people about, like our spirituality. Not many people understand.
We go for long walks and we talk about everything. We having fun. We talk about deep stuff. We talk about personal stuff.
Yeah.
We share so much.
Yeah. You understand when I talk about, I don't know, maybe for other people it's deep. For us it's deep, but it's hearted deep. And you understand when I say I felt this or I felt that.
It's
like
natural.
Yeah, but like with you, it's just like I understand whatever I say, you're not judging, which is nice. I think that's definitely the bond we created. And you started that by the way you teach your classes, or the way you come across in classes, approachable, and you're very knowledgeable. I haven't studied in India, but I learned from really good people.
I think it doesn't matter where you study. I think if it's in you to do your research, and I know you, that when you love something, you go really deep into trying to understand everything. So first of all, I would like to thank you for everything you said. And you said a couple of things that really resonate with me and my moments of Inyeon with you, which mentioned connections. And you mentioned the simplicity of our friendship. We could talk about really deep stuff, and it could be a really down to earth conversation. The way I see it, my moments of Inyeon with you, like you just said, started more than 10 years ago when I was teaching yoga classes in the gym where we met. And you started coming more and more regularly to my classes to talk. We discovered we had something in common, which was our passion for training. I think at first we bonded over that too, apart from you coming to the yoga classes. And it became our little routine to train together every Tuesday morning. I still remember that. Do you remember that?
Every Tuesday morning.
Yes, every Tuesday morning. And I think we bond over hard work, because obviously we were training properly. We were not just doing for fun. And I think we have a similar sense of humor, and that really helps to create a deeper bond for me. So laughter, and also non-judgment, like you said. It was a really important component of our friendship. You were already a personal trainer when I met you, and then you decided to embark in the yoga teacher training that you did with the school I was working for at the time as a course leader. And I think that made us bond even more. You witnessed me going through a really dark moment in my life, and you've seen how much my life has changed since then, because moments of Inyeon are also people who we meet at crucial moments and have impacts in our life in the middle of a personal crisis. When I needed the most, you gave me space to heal and get better without feeling judged, without feeling pressured. I think my moments of Inyeon with you are things like loyalty, support, fun, laughter, but also non-judgment and resilience. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about your journey yourself in terms of how you went from personal training to yoga to sports therapy to physio and to Reiki? Because I think it's a journey of very similar things. Some are very physical, some are more energetical, more spiritual, but I think they have a lot of factors, a lot of elements together.
I did a lot, and I know a lot of people say, why are you doing all these things? Why are you not focusing on personal training, yoga, or this? Because I don't believe you need to focus on one thing, maybe specialize in one thing, and then you'd be really good at that one thing. But I just, I think it's really a difficult story because also I changed my mind a lot about things, I'm indecisive. But personal training I got into when I was in my early 20s. I moved here to the UK. I wasn't so much into sports, really. I started running. I worked in an office. Absolutely hated it. I don't think it has anything to do with the place.
If I think of yourself the way I know you and you work in an office, to me it doesn't match.
No, I got told off for chatting all the time. Yeah, I was gone for hours, not hours, but I did make up for it. But for me, it was stressful and it was not enjoyable. And I always said I wanted to work with people, but I didn't like working in a shop. And I was, what else is there? I just didn't know the option that personal training is a job, that personal training is actually a thing you can do, is your hobby, but is your love. I started running and I realized I got really good at it. I got faster. Obviously the help of losing weight, you got leaner, stronger. And people started to come to me for advice. What would you eat? What would and I was like, look, I'm not really qualified. Curiosity made me do a course. Started to teach then aerobics, but that wasn't enough. I wanted more, did level 3. So then I got into this, and yoga was always in the background for me. So because I had a lot of back pain issues, I did a lot of Pilates, yoga, and I always had this lingering anxiety. Personal training for me was to share my knowledge, to share about how you can get better, how to learn to do exercises the correct way. So I never became a personal trainer to give you a 6-pack or anything like this. I took like sabbatical leave and I worked in a gym, and that's when I got more into like obviously full-time personal training, seeing how a gym runs.
How did you link that to yoga?
To yoga.
And then to sports therapy, and recently to, as you doing a degree on physiotherapy.
Yes, physio. So it's like really weird. My path like takes me one way and then I change my mind and then this. But basically with yoga, so in that gym, I was there for a while, but I started to being bullied. So I'm not gonna go into that too much. But basically, like I was really low, so I went to my GP, and I did counseling for it. Basically, the only way to get out of that anxiety was I had high anxiety. My GP wanted to write me off work, but I was kind of freelance. I couldn't leave. I was really low, really low. And I did a course in sports massage therapy. I did the course and I actually met another yoga teacher on that course. And then I started to go to those classes, yin yoga, and it started to help me. I just felt freer and I was like, this is so nice. And then I met you. That was just the time like after all that anxiety. When I was already a little bit better, I met you. And that's what brought me to yoga, because I thought if it can help me with my anxiety, it can help then other people.
Would you say that anxiety is one of the emotions that connects you with moments of destiny, moments of purpose?
I think so, because I think I always have that anxiety in me. Certain things trigger my anxiety, maybe even stress. But anxiety definitely brought me to yoga because I wanted to avoid having depression, which then people said to me, I think you need to start taking tablets. And I was like, no, that's why I started to get back into my spirituality again. And that really, really helped me. So I never really took tablets for.
Do you think that thanks to all the aspects and elements of your job, like therapy, physio, yoga, personal training, healing, you can recognize emotions and traumas. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more. The body is a map of all the experience we have had. And as we bridge the body, mind, and spirit, we can actually have a better understanding of the connections between trapped emotions and the physical conditions causing us suffering. We can go years and even decades without realizing that we have trapped emotions and where they stem from. And sometimes we can end up holding on to blocked energy that could manifest into physical pain. I believe, for instance, that everything on the physical plane is a manifestation of something happening on the metaphysical plane. We know that every injuries, every traumas, and every emotions are different. But could you tell us a little bit more where they could sit in our physical body?
You can't find just one, like you said, one spot. Like I can't just say it's just in the brain or it's just in your throat or in your neck. It all links together, your whole body. But the main thing is obviously in the brain. The brain stores your memory, stores fear, stores all sorts of things. Then when you connect, like a smell, it can trigger, let's say in my case, anxiety or music. You know, a song when you hear, you get.
That's very beautiful, but also very telling.
In your first episode, when you speak about heart.
Thank you for watching it.
Of course. When you talk about like emotions in the heart is actually kind of reacting to what we feel. I had to study quite a lot about the neuroscience. I'm not a specialist at all when it comes to that, but it made me realize those emotions is mostly in the brain, but the brain reacts because the nervous system, the signals need to travel to where we need them to. There is a system which you probably heard about, the fight or flight, and then there is another one, it's called rest and digest. Basically them help each other out. And when, let's say, something falls off the ceiling, we get really scared. So then our heart reacts, heart rate goes up, we might get hot, the blood pressure goes through the roof. But then when we are in emotions like anxiety or becomes chronic, that system kind of delays or it doesn't really switch on the rest and digest. So you're constantly in the fight or flight mode. Your body thinks almost it's normal, but then obviously your heart rate goes up, it's constantly up. You might feel more tired. You might feel more aches because the body is really busy with dealing with so many things at one go. Maybe you feel an injury more. Or when you have your back pain, you're already not feeling great mentally, then this plays more and you might feel it more. It's very interesting, the neuroscience around it. When we talk about where the pain sits, it can sit in your shoulders because when you're stressed, you might just sit like this the whole time and then your muscles can't move as they're meant to or as they should do.
Do you see it in your patients when they come to see you? Would you recognize the emotions attached?
I think so, because I do a lot of sports massage. That's where I notice it the most when people tell me they have stress at work. Stress at work usually have stomach issues as well, because you ask a lot of questions like, do you have pain anywhere else? Do you have any stomach issues? Yeah, they hold their emotions in the shoulders. And most of the people who are stressed, you do see tight shoulders when it comes to the massage. When it comes to yoga, what I notice when I teach, people can't close their eyes, for example. You probably know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know, they fiddle around. They just can't sit still. I was one of them. Like meditation, I try. And at the beginning, I had to move or I need a sip of water. And that's how I notice in yoga, for example, people just cannot stand still. They have to move. Even if it's 5 breaths, they have to move. With the massage, they relax, but it takes a long time for them to. Sometimes I incorporate the breathing. I'm like, just take a deep breath in and just let it out.
As yoga teachers, we understand that yoga could be a powerful tool for managing and processing emotions. And we believe, and I know we agree on this, that yoga is not just the physical postures, but for instance, pranayama, breath work is yoga, mindfulness is yoga, this conversation is yoga. And all these techniques can help us to become more aware of our emotional state, to regulate our responses, and to foster emotional resilience. So when a patient comes to you with a physical trauma or physical injury, I know that you don't approach neither the consultation nor the treatment or therapy only from a physical point of view. And the reason why I know that is because I witnessed it when I came to see you with a physical injury. Maybe because you know that there are many different factors that could influence how we feel or how we respond to traumas and injuries. But could you tell us a little bit more how tools like yoga and, for instance, your Reiki, your healing, could have beneficial effects in your job, but not just for yourself, also for your patient, in terms of you using yoga maybe when you're doing your physiotherapy or when you're doing your sports massage without your clients realizing it. Could you share a little bit more what's happening behind the scenes?
With physical injuries, it's like you said, you're not just looking at the injury. So like I said earlier, you're going to ask like a lot of questions. We learn about the biopsychosocial. So basically that combines biology, so that's your injury, psychology, that's your feeling, emotions around it, and social is your social network. You always check, do you have somebody at home? Is somebody looking after you? Are you alone? You get to know people. And then sometimes I've got a few patients where I use it more than with others, but without realizing how the yoga fits in is a simple stretch, which we might use in yoga, like pigeon or lizard, or even just downward facing dog. I use that a lot because I think it does help people to kind of align a little bit, or the child's posture.
A conversation is yoga, simple stretch is yoga, or analyzing something is yoga. So
just recently trained maybe a year or two in Pilates. The breathing is very different, but it's still breathing, it's still movement, is still holding postures. It's just a slightly different concept.
I think the initial approach that we have when we qualified as yoga teachers is to try to explain everything. And then slowly, we actually learn to allow others to get there when they need to get there. Just about us growing and relaxing into this world of sharing without thinking that we had to share everything in 1 second. And so my next question is a two-part question. As you said before, the brain has a role, and especially the amygdala and the frontal cortex, in processing and managing emotions. And we know that emotions have a mental, physical, and energetical component. And the body responds to emotions through changes, such as the heart rate, like you said before, breathing, muscle tension. And because everything happens on the physical and energetical plane, at least the way I see it, do you believe that our physical and emotional bodies could connect us to moments of purpose, moments of destiny? And if you believe that this journey of yours is connected with moments of Inyeon, could you share any with us?
I really think it connects you because sometimes your body is telling you maybe to slow down when you get an injury, or your body keeps you from doing something. But then because you're injured, you have to stay at home. Unfortunately, sometimes when people get injured, they also get mental health. So I think it's definitely linked and definitely takes you to other places. Like if you wouldn't have that certain injury, you might not have met me, for example, or met your physio. So for me, the biggest part was when a few years ago, I did this 100-mile cycling.
Oh, amazing. By the way, guys, Gisela is also a football player.
Yeah, but not a great
Amazing.
one. I love football. That actually, I forgot to tell you, that was the reason why I got into sports rehab. So basically, I was so injured, like I cried, but
During your cycling experience.
yeah. So that was just after COVID. I was a bit heavier. I wasn't as healthy, and I thought, like, I've done so many things, I can do that. And I met this osteopath. He's Italian. He's a really good friend of mine now. And then I got a job in that clinic. So I definitely think if I wouldn't have had the injury, I wouldn't have gone there. I wouldn't even have considered applying to work in a clinic, because I always thought I want to work for myself. I didn't look after myself really well, even nutritionally. And, a lot of things came together. But because of that, then I looked after myself more. Working in the clinic made me be more healthy, be more active, lose the weight. And I did the race again a year later and it was better. I didn't have such injuries, but I also had my friend.
I think also that's your resilience.
Oh yeah, I play through. When you introduce this with ligaments, muscles, there is a timeline how long it takes you, and then it can become chronic or there is a healing. So there is quite a healing timeline when it comes to the physical body. A ligament has different healing than a tendon or a muscle, is because of whatever is the consistency, like collagen 1 or 3.
The brain plays a part in processing and managing emotions. Can you tell us a little bit more what that actually means? Having the frontal cortex and the amygdala involved into this process.
So the amygdala is part of the limbic system. The limbic system is basically our part of the nervous system and the endocrine system. Endocrine is hormones and things that trigger us, like stress response. And then there is one system, is SAM system, or the SAM axis. That is where you realize there is a threat coming in, like you see it, you smell it, you like feel it. It goes into your brain, it goes through the amygdala. The hypothalamus is involved as well. It goes and sends to the kidney, the adrenal glands. That's it. And then you've got the adrenaline, and that is the fight. And that's basically the link. And the amygdala is our memory for fear. The amygdala is always the one which starts the signal to come down into the adrenal. And then if it goes to the adrenal cortex, it's the cortisol, and that is the longer term. The adrenaline is short term, acute. The adrenal cortex or the cortisol is where it's longer.
Technical things.
Yeah.
Where can our audience find you if they would like to have maybe a consultation, maybe a treatment therapy with you?
So my website is Info at Gisela Fitness.
I will add it into the info of the episode.
You can find me there. My Instagram is private because of my work, but I've got one. It's called GM Fitness and Rehab, or Rehab and Fitness. I always take that wrong, but you will find it's called GM Fitness Rehab. You know me.
All right. So because we have our first guest today, we are launching a little segment called Without Margins. Sometimes we think we have this belief that our lives are great and we wait for others to bring us color. However, I believe that change happens when we start painting our own lives, regardless of the margins. Imagine having one of those coloring books in front of you and you start coloring all the patterns and shapes with different colors without being worried about the edges. So this segment is about asking questions as if we were looking at our lives from the outside, as if our body wasn't limited by the five senses, which are our edges, our margins. So my without margins question for you, Gisela, today is, if you were the main character in a movie of your life, what would the audience be screaming at you to do right in this moment in your life? We have all been there, as in watching a movie or a TV show and wanted to jump through the screen, grab the person and tell them to do something. What would that be?
I think people would just shake me and say, just believe in yourself, just go for it, because I do doubt myself a lot and I hold back. So I think that's the first thing people would say, like, shake me and say, just believe in yourself, get over it, you know what you're doing. And then I think the other thing is people will also say, look after yourself a little bit more, your mental health, rather than always giving everything for everybody else. I would step back from my own needs to help others, which is probably a good trait, but I think people would tell me, do your own thing, believe in yourself.
So just for fun, do you have a without margins question for me?
Yeah, so my question would be, when you came into yoga or into spirituality, you might have been spiritual all your life. What would you tell yourself now to do different, or would you do anything different, or just
with the knowledge that I have now? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. With the knowledge that I have now, probably because I'm very invested in the concept of Inyeon. I really believe in destiny and fate, and I believe that there are no coincidences. I would say that it went exactly the way it was supposed to go, even though in the past I fought a lot with that, that friction within ourselves, that we have a certain knowledge, but we are fighting against that knowledge. It's like we don't really want to believe it deep down. But now I am more and more comfortable accepting that everything I went through, it was exactly what I was supposed to go through. And it was part of my destiny.
I think stuff like this, I think, like you said, everything happens for a reason. When people say like, but why is this happened? Because it made you who you are. So I think that's why we get on as well, because even though you go through really dark times, you get out of it. You need to let it happen.
Yeah. That's why before I said that when I needed the most, you gave me space. Because that was really important for me in that specific moment. I understood and I accepted that I needed to be there in that moment, as painful as it was. And when I started accepting it, I actually decided that I needed to be there and just wait. Sometimes we just need to sit in a very difficult and painful situation and just wait for the course to finish.
Yeah, it's so true. I'll just add this quickly because I did the mistake myself. My mum passed away when I was 26, and I don't try to get sympathy. I was too young. That was the moment where I wasn't sure about my spirituality. I made myself not feel. I made myself get out, and this is part the reason why I never sit still. But I've learned a lot since then. It's been quite a long journey.
Any final thoughts on moments of Inyeon, so destiny, purpose, and emotions?
I really do think for whoever is listening and maybe has a really low moment, we don't know why parents die, but it brings you to something. It brought me to this. It brought me to you. It brought me to what I am, who I am today. And so I think it's definitely something I love the topic anyway. It's really nice. And also what our listeners might not know, we are linked together with our red thread. We have got, and only understood that when I watched your first episode. Me and Silvia have got this tattoo, and we've both got on the tattoo a red thread on our little finger. And now I understand it. So even when we haven't been in touch because you had to heal, I have this. I have you for the rest of my life with me. And I really, really understand that now, only since a few days. So yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Our listeners might not know. Maybe one day we should.
Yeah, exactly. Different part of the bodies, but yes, we have to angle it. We can actually add it, yes. I would like to share with our audience. I believe we live in a society that asks us to accept only positive emotions and repress uncomfortable ones. But like Gisela said, like we said throughout this episode, every emotions, even the unpleasant ones, really help us to grow and to make us understand something about ourselves. For instance, jealousy will show us what we really want. Remorse will invite us to forgive ourselves. And sadness would make us aware that we need to deal with a loss. If we want to practice metta and mindfulness towards our emotions, we know now that we don't need to bring awareness only to the heart center, as we found out today that emotions are not only stored within the heart. If sadness, for instance, is stored within the lungs, we will start by bringing the principle of ahimsa, which is the non-violence attitude that the Buddhist philosophy of metta says we should have towards our suffering and pain too, and not just towards pleasant emotions. And then we will connect with the breath and we will direct mantras towards our physical body and emotions. In this case, towards the lungs and the emotion of sadness. I would like to share a little meditation. It's very little today. So we start by breathing in and say, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be safe. Breathing out and say, I am here for you. We know now that saying, I am here for you, for the meta philosophy, is an act of love. And just like that, we will direct our attention towards accepting how we feel and noticing what's happening within and around us. Emotions can play a significant role in how individuals navigate their lives and shape their destinies. While some view destiny as predetermined, others believe that emotions, when understood and managed, could influence the path we take. And some others believe that events are predetermined and that our emotions are only a part of that preset course. And it is only thanks to a predetermined destiny that we are able to achieve, to gain emotional intelligence. There is not right or wrong in here, guys, but only many, many different perspectives. And remember that we are all colorful stories. There are those who notice the intensity and those who judge the nuances. Who would you like to be? All right, we reached the end of our episode. Thank you, Gisela, for being our first guest. Thank you for sharing all your knowledge with us. And on a personal note, thank you for your constant love and support.
Thanks for having me.
And guys, thank you for tuning in. If you like to share or support this episode, don't forget to subscribe to any of your favorite streaming platforms. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook. See you next time with our next guest. Until then, keep following your red threads and keep living mindfully in moments of inyeon. See you soon. Bye, Gisela. Bye, guys.